Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 12 of Andor, the season 1 finale, and yeah, I gotta say, to be honest with you, everything kind of just went as I thought it would, for the most part. Okay, so yeah, all parties involved, the Empire, and Luthen and his crew, and Andor and his friends, everyone's getting ready for Merva's funeral, right? And you know, of course, Andor's gonna show up, and everyone's looking for him. Everyone's going around. Deidre's there, Cyril's there, everyone is there, right? And of course, Vel and oh man, what is her name? Vel's girlfriend. I don't remember her name. Anyways, everyone's preparing, but you even see some citizens, which I'm sure we've seen them before. I can't, there's someone making a bomb. And I think it might be the son of that guy that was tortured. He owned the shop. You know, it's kind of hard to keep track of all the characters, but you know, I think that's who was making the bomb, because that bomb is something that really comes into play later. But basically, yeah, this entire episode's just filled with the tension of like, okay, this funeral's about to start. Everyone's showing up. Something's about to happen, and you know, I gotta tell you, when Merva. Is it Merva or Minerva? Merva, I think. When Andor's mom, when she starts giving this speech, because they have like a little hologram that B2 is that's playing as sort of like, you know, her last words that she recorded, and it is like I got chills watching this speech, because it's such like a slow build up into like what it means to be here and being a member of what they call the Daughters of Ferrix, which is like, you know, the Empire called them like just a little club, but it's clearly like more of a rebellion group, right? And basically it all culminates in like her start basically just shit talking the Empire and saying how like we've been asleep for too long and we need to do something. And of course the Empire's standing right there watching this all happen, so they try to cover it up and stop it, and that is when shit just hits the fan, and it is amazing. You know, and it's unclear exactly how much of this was planned, because like I said, we see that one person making a bomb, but he seemed to be working alone. Like, this was not like organized at all, really. At least it didn't seem like it, you know? So yeah, just you got the people of Ferrix rising up against the Empire, and it's just like this huge chaotic mess. Deidre's getting knocked over, everyone's getting like punched to the ground, and all kinds of stuff is happening. And we even get a moment where Cyril comes in and saves Deidre. And look, I kind of joked that like, oh, Cyril and Deidre, that's going to be the next thing that everyone on the internet starts shipping together. Like, oh, they're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend, ooh, you know? And I was joking about that, but this episode like plays into it because after he saves her, they're like real close, and she's all out of breath, and she's like, I should say thank you. And it was like, I was like, okay, so they're like leaning fully into what I was joking about happening. So, you know, I'm sure the internet will have fun with that one. Anyways, and of course Andor goes, he's like underneath the sewers, and not the sewers, but you know, he's in like the back, maybe it was the sewers, I don't know, he's like in an underground type thing. But basically he goes and saves Bix, who of course she's still all messed up from that torture, and he's just running around trying to save his friends, trying to save Bix, trying to get out of here. And he's got everyone on board a ship, and they're all leaving, right? And he even tells like B2 like, all right, I'll see you, you know, which again, like, this is so sad for B2, because you know, Andor left, and then the mom died, and now Andor came back to, you know, save everyone and get them all on a ship and get them out of here, right? Because that's the truth, is that like, yeah, sure, Ferrix, you know, their uprising was today, but you know, the Empire's just gonna come back with bigger numbers and, you know, stamp all this out, so they need to leave, basically, you know. So, you know, we got like our main cast members to get out of the planet, so where they're going, who knows, you know. I'm sure their story will continue in season 2, but as far as the rest of the citizens of Ferrix, I'm sure the Empire is going to come back and not be so happy about what happened here. Even the bell tower guy got some good hits in, like he's like ringing the bells, and you know, he's just like getting the hype started, everyone's rebelling, and he's just like, you know, and they send someone out there to stop him, and he just like kicks him off the bell tower, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, just a lot of awesome action, explosions, and both sides taking hits, and it's pretty cool to see, actually. And then basically what happens next is just that Andor was like, hey, you guys leave, I have something else I need to do. So earlier he had seen Luthen just hanging out, right? So he knows he's there. He shows up on Luthen's ship because Luthen's about to get out of there, and he's already on his ship, and he's like, you came here to kill me, didn't you? Now, how he put that together, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he just thought like, well, they didn't try to contact me, which means they must not want me to know that they're here. I don't know exactly how he put it together that he was going to kill him, but basically he just gives him the option. It's like, all right, look, go ahead and kill me or take me in. Now, at first when he said take me in, I was like, what do you mean by that? Are you saying turn him over to the Empire? Why? And then I guess I thought about it a little bit more. I was like, okay, take him in, like let him actually join your rebellion, or it was a little unclear exactly what he meant by that. And that's basically the cliffhanger that we're left with, is like, Luthen obviously does not kill Andor, but yeah, I guess he's just gonna like trust him more, or bring him closer into the inner circle of letting him know who he is. Because that's the thing, is that like Luthen's whole deal of wanting to kill Andor was that, like, well, he knows my face, he knows that I'm have all these rebellion contacts, right? So like we gotta kill Andor, because if someone catches Andor before we get to him, then he'll be able to describe what I look like, right? So that's really the entire reasoning of sending Vel there and all that stuff, right? And now it's basically just like Andor's like, hey, no, I'll join your cause. I'm totally in. And maybe that's really the difference, is that like the first time he was paid to be there, and he didn't really care about the cause. He wasn't gonna become like a full lifetime member of the rebellion, and now he's like fully bought in, which I did appreciate that we do see more of that manifesto, and Andor's just like listening to it, right? So we do see how his entire outlook on this situation has changed, from being like, look, I'll do this job for money, but I'm not gonna sit here and pledge my life to this like, yeah, we're actually going to be able to do this, going to be able to take out the Empire. Like, he's very much not a believer in being able to do, like, that's a realistic thing. So yeah, I guess that's really the difference here, is that like now Andor's fully committed, and so now now I guess Luthen's like, okay, I guess they don't have to kill him, because now he's like for real in this. We'll see how all that works out. I was so sure that Luthen was going to get captured or killed or something, but no, he's fine. He didn't. No one even noticed he was there except for Andor. So that was another thing. I was like, oh, no one even like, all right, okay, I guess he's just not on anyone's radar, so he's fine to just walk around with a hood on. And the last thing that we get really is we did get some Mon Mothma, not a whole lot, but she did play this really good trick on the Empire, where it's like, if you remember, she has suspected that her driver was a spy, because she's like, I didn't hire this driver, I don't even know where this driver came from, but now he's my driver. So he's probably, he was probably working for somebody else, is basically the point. And really what we see is that so they're at some event, and her husband comes in, and the driver's right there, and she's like, hey driver, I want to have a private conversation with my husband. And very loudly she's like, you've been gambling again, that's where all this money's coming from, that's what you're doing with all this money that I'm seeing on the accounts. And of course her parents like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. But she knows that the driver actually is listening, so she's using this as the cover to explain what's happening with all this money. Because, remember, that's like the entire thing there, is that like, she's being watched, and she needs to move money around to, I guess, fund the rebellion, or whatever exists of the rebellion right now. And she can't do that if she's being watched too closely. And so, yeah, that's basically the plan, and it works. We see that it actually does work. The driver reports back to the ISB, and yeah, it all seems to be going fine for now, because they're like, Mon Mothma is a person of interest, but I guess this does explain all the money that we saw in her account. So like, she was totally right in her suspicions. The other interesting thing, though, is that we then go to a shot of they are introducing her daughter to the son of that gangster guy, and you know, basically just she agreed to that you know, that little deal that they made, right? Like all right, we'll join our houses, you know. So the interesting thing there is that, like, I thought the whole point of this gangster guy was that he was gonna help you cover up what happened here. And I don't know, maybe this was his idea, maybe the whole gambling thing was his plan, I don't know, but they made the deal at some point, so there you go. Which of course, you know, her daughter didn't seem opposed to it, even though she's like a rebellious teenager. She's, you know, she's fully involved in the Chandrillan traditional ways of doing things, right? That kind of cultish thing she was doing with her friends. So, you know, she didn't seem to complain at all. And yeah, that was the Andor season 1 finale. Now look, yeah, I am happy that we got our Ferrix rebellion, our uprising, right? And it was epic, you know, like I got chills when things were happening. I guess I do kind of wish that something, I guess, because basically season 2 is gonna start, and it's like, okay, well, Andor's friends are way over here and they're doing their thing, and Andor's with Luthen and they're gonna be doing some rebellion stuff, and you know, it doesn't feel like a whole lot ultimately changed. You know, I guess you could say that, like, oh, Andor's now officially a member of the rebellion, or the proto-rebellion, or whatever it even is at this point. And that's what I really hope season 2 explores, because I know they're going to be doing like a bunch of time jumps and stuff, but like, I want to more fully understand, like, okay, Luthen is a guy here who has a bunch of tiny little rebellion groups that he works with. He knows about Saw, he knows about Anton Krieger, who, by the way, yeah, they went ahead, and Anton Krieger's whole group, they all died. They just say it, so like, okay, they're gone. Don't worry about them. And then of course they have like Vel and her group that did that job, and you know, so like, he knows a bunch of tiny little groups, and these are just like the little rebellion cells. And of course we got the Lothal cell, the Phoenix Squadron, you know, stuff like that. So it's like, okay, so you know, it's like, what is all the money that Mon Mothma is raising? Where's that money going? Because it doesn't seem like she's sending it to Saw Gerrera or something, right? So like, what is she funding exactly, like specifically, you know? So there's just a lot of stuff like that, like I kind of want answers to, because as far as I understand, the Rebel Alliance doesn't actually exist yet, right? Like it's still just these individual tiny groups that are all, you know, as we saw in this season, Saw Gerrera pointed out, like, oh, we're all different, you know, like that person's group over there doesn't know what they're doing, my group knows what they're doing, you know. So like, they all have slightly different ideals on how to go about things, but they all ultimately want the same thing. So that's why it will take Mon Mothma to join them together eventually, right? Anyways, so you know, I enjoyed the end of this season, but man, we gotta wait 2 years, I think, right? 2 years before we get any kind of follow-up on this. And you know, look, Andor, of course, some people really loved it, other people thought it was really boring, and you know, yeah, like I've said before, it's got slow parts, you gotta have patience, all that, right? Overall, I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed like how personal it got with like this planet and this group of people, right? Like, you know, season 2 is where it feels like all the meat is gonna be, as far as like major historical events, you know, like things that are gonna start lining up with Rebels, like the show, and things that are gonna, like, historically, it's like, okay, this happened just 3 years before, and this happened just 2 years before, like we're getting closer and closer to Rogue One. everything's gonna start lining up, and a lot of very important things start happening very suddenly, timeline wise. So yeah, can't wait for season 2. And yeah, had a good time with Andor. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.